Welcome back to another classy video, and I'm sure you didn't see this coming, but I swapped the C1 for the A80J. Reason being, SDR game mode on the C1 being capped at 250 nits just wasn't cutting it for me. You know, I had the Samsung KS8000 for over 5 years, then I had the 85-inch X900H, and you know, playing Fortnite or things on the Switch, the SDR game mode just was not bright enough for me. Everything else was amazing. It's still a great TV. I love it. I love the C1. But 30% of what I do, it wasn't cutting it. So I got this to try out. I've popped the box off, and I just want to show here how much it tilts forward. So if you get an A80J, stand in front when you pull that box off. If you've seen B the Installer's video, he was standing behind the screen, pulled the box off, it tilted and fell forward. Yeah, that's going to happen if you're not standing in the front. So for me, I cut a little bit of the foam down at the bottom so that I can get my wall mount arms attached while it's still in the foam holding it up. I put the box, the outer box, on the other side so it can lean against it and not fall over. Ignore the mess of my living room, please. Alright, so the Sony A80J is now mounted. This is the first time I've turned it on aside from doing the initial setup. And let's see, go to inputs. Alright, so I don't know what was going on here with it showing the HDMI layout like this, because that is not correct. The Xbox was going to HDMI 4, and then HDMI 3 is my receiver. So I'm not sure why it bugged out and showed it like this. Afterwards, it no longer does this. So let me go over to the shield. You turn off the ceiling light to get rid of that glare. Alright, let me just throw on Toy Story real quick. Alright, so it starts with standard mode. There's vivid, cinema, game, graphics, photo, IMAX enhanced, and custom. So we want custom. And first, let me go into these settings. I'm going to change the HDMI port. So I have the Xbox in 4. So I want to put that one to enhanced. And then 3, my eARC one, I will have as Dolby Vision. So that's how you can get to all your picture settings. Yeah, it's on audio system. Turn off the center speaker mode. Audio system prioritization. Go on now. Alright. Want eARC turned on. Pass-through mode, turn on. And we're going to leave this at auto 1. And so by doing those settings, if you have a receiver, you will bit stream out, you know, your Dolby Atmos and DTS and so on and so forth. Now I want to look for any energy saving settings. Let's see, I'll turn that off, power saving, off, so that's all good. Oh, this I like right here, home screen or last input for power on behavior. With the C1, it's one thing that bugged me is every single time you turned it on, it would give recommended apps and videos and whatever at the bottom of the screen. so hopefully this won't do that. LED indicator, don't care. Alright, so the rest of this looks alright so far. Alright, so now settings, picture settings. Let's see how custom starts out. Got auto picture mode off, light sensor is on, luminance level is on, and auto tone curve is on. So I don't want that. Ooh, look at that difference. See? This is why this stuff should just be off. Alright, so brightness, we can leave it max for now. Contrast, I'll leave that alone. Gamma, I'll leave that alone. I'll go through and measure some stuff later. Right now, I'm just looking at how it is out of the box. Peak luminance, medium, low, high, and off. So, alright, I'll just leave that at medium for right now. Color, hue. So you leave this at expert 1, so it's warm. Alright, what is going on in here? Alright, I want that off. Reality creation. Turn that off. Motion. I'm going to turn this off. Turn that off for now. So let's see. So far, initial impressions. This is SDR. Alright, let's see if I can see any difference with reality creation. I am not really seeing anything happen, at least on Toy Story, with reality creation, either on the manual 20 or on auto. Alright, switching over to Spears and Munzel now. Don't want to risk a copyright strike. Let's see if there's any clipping issues right now. Alright, I see boxes in red, green, and blue. I see flashing all the way past 1,000, so that's good. Brightness, I see the 2%, the 4%. I don't see the checker patterns that you're not supposed to see, so everything here looks good. Now let's check this clipping pattern. See, red looks good, green looks good, blue looks good, white good, and black good. Okay. Seeing it go all the way down into the 50s, so that's good. Anything under 64 is good. You can see a little bit of vertical bars, but nothing too bad. So there's a little bit of pink, but it doesn't seem so far as noticeable as the C1 that I had. Alright, now for the big test for me. The reason that I wanted to try this instead of the LG C1 is for SDR gaming was not bright enough on the C1 because the peak brightness setting is grayed out in SDR gaming. So on this TV, the equivalent is peak luminance. So I'm going to load up Fortnite, and we're going to see if it's brighter, and if so, how much brighter. And first, let's see. Yep, we are not in any kind of game mode because there's no auto low latency mode yet. Hopefully Sony gets their together. So let's go into game mode. So even though, like, when this says off, but then there's sub-menus that say on, I get a little paranoid. You probably don't have to do this. I like to turn that off and then turn it off. That's just me. Peak luminance. Yep, here we go. Yep, big difference. So, with the contrast turned up to 97, let me adjust my ISO correctly here. Alright, that's about what I'm seeing. So on the C1, contrast at 97, which didn't peak white, or didn't clip white, but did clip a little bit of colors, could only get to 250 nits in SDR gaming. And I would say that that landed somewhere between off and low on here. So if you can see that, just imagine the LG C1 being right in the middle. But then this goes medium and high. Bam. That's what I was looking for. So let me get in here. Let me come down. See color temperature, good out of the box. Clarity. Don't want that on. Don't want that on. Motion. Just to see. Yep, you cannot use smoothness, which is fine. And then if you want black frame insertion, you can use it. Again, max has flickering 2. So basically, it looks to me by eye, not measured, but by eye, if you have peak luminance on high and black frame insertion on 2, I would say that's similar in brightness to what the C1 was giving me. And now if I turn that to min and then off, now that's the full brightness, and all that's good. Let's load in here real quick. So, and I have my 2 lamps on in this room, which is how I usually game. And yes, that is definitely noticeably brighter. It is probably on par, maybe just a hair less by eye than the X900H, but that was also an 85-inch, which gives the impression of more light. So I would say it's about on par, similar to the X900H in terms of brightness. But when I had that, I also didn't have the backlight maxed out for SDR gaming, so I don't know. Anyway, definitely brighter than the C1. So that is a clear win for the A80J. If SDR games is important to you, so that's Nintendo Switch, that's some older games on, you know, the Xbox and the PlayStation that haven't gotten the HDR updates, or if you're someone who games on PC and you don't enable the HDR settings in Windows because, you know, for some games or some applications that can cause issues. I mean, I think everyone knows that the Windows HDR implementation isn't perfect. So if you're worried about SDR gaming performance and you want OLED, it really sucks to say that LG really limits that by not letting you use the peak brightness setting in SDR gaming. If they would, I probably wouldn't have done this. I would have just stuck with the LG. But for me, playing Fortnite, playing Switch games, that kind of stuff is probably about 30% of my usage. So this is really important to me. It may not be to you. You may only play HDR games. You may only watch movies. I don't know. But if you are playing games in SDR and you want OLED, pretty much limits you to the Sony A80J or A90J. As for everything else right here that I'm seeing, nothing looks out of the ordinary. Everything looks solid. Colors look pretty much about, I mean, it's all by eye and memory at this point. I mean, I know colors are going to need calibrated to get right, but I wouldn't say anything is bad. So let me let's go on the settings here. Just want to see what happens if we go to video signal and we change the color space, which I'm not going to keep it this way. I just want to see. Yeah, so auto detecting BT709, that's good. And then if you're someone who really wants those overblown saturated colors, you could go DCI. I'm sure you can see that tree just popping out a whole lot more in the background, and you know, the leaves on the ground and all that. So if you're someone who likes that look, you can switch it to DCI right there and get that with an SDR game. I do not recommend going to BT2020. That's bad. Everything's red. Let's see, Adobe RGB. That's kind of a middle ground between 709 and DCI. It's not as saturated as DCI, but it's a little bit more so than 709, so you might like that. Alright, so I just loaded in here to the Cosmodrome, and I've set up the HDR brightness appropriately and set it to gradation preferred after doing the HDR calibration. And I was not expecting this. So I knew in SDR there was going to be a big brightness difference to the C1. In HDR though, like everything looked like just right here, my camera's not going to pick this up, but I can see all of this shadow detail quite well. And just everything just seems brighter. I mean, it's not even so much brighter as it is just easier to see, if that makes sense. So let me adjust the camera. Alright, so that's pretty much matching the brightness I'm seeing, except that the colors, like the grass here, or this bush, this stands out way more than I've ever seen before. And like, I play the shit out of this game. I have over 5,000 hours into Destiny. So I'm very, very familiar with how this looks. When it comes to like the sun up there and that kind of brightness, that's pretty much how the C1 was. That doesn't really look any brighter or different. But just everything else that's not a highlight, I don't know how to describe. Again, it's like I would say that it's brighter, but it's not really brighter. It's just stands out more. And I think that I was very skeptical about the whole, you know, the colors are going to be so much brighter, whatever, and the whatever Sony does, that they don't measure very bright, but they appear bright. And again, like, I got completely screwed over on the X900H. I didn't want to give Sony another $1. I really didn't. But because of the SDR brightness on the C1, I decided to give this a shot. And I thought that would be the only advantage. And I was wrong. Again, my skepticism was wrong. I never denied that it was possible. I didn't. I just thought that, you know, it wouldn't be that big of a difference. Now I still have to go through, at least do a grayscale calibration, because those clouds, they don't look quite right to me. But yeah, I gotta say, these bright highlights, the bright white highlights, may not be as any brighter than the C1. They might even be a little bit less than the C1. But everything else is just like the range, the dynamic range of the colors just separates it into something that I have not seen before. Like coming into here, like even after fixing the near black performance and of the C1, it was just, you wouldn't see this much detail before. Come down here where it's really dark. Like, obviously it's OLED, so you still get the true blacks. And I know that this comes out of black faster. And I know the very, very dark areas are clipped and not going to be visible and will crush detail. But there's just something going on here. Like, the green on this wall stands out more. The blue right there, that just stands out more. This, like, I'm literally at a loss for words of how to describe what is going on here. And I'm sure the camera is not picking it up. And I'm not trying... Like, I don't give a shit about a brand. I really don't. I don't care what brand it is. And if anything, I would be biased against Sony. Because I've never really cared for the PlayStation brands. You know, hate me all you want. But I've always been an Xbox person or a PC person. I would get a PlayStation to play exclusives, and that was kind of it. And I will get a PS5 at some point to play exclusives. But I don't really care. And... again, after what I went through with the X900H and Sony's terrible support, I really didn't want to give them any more money. And I was really going to go with the LG G1. And I don't know what to say. I am... like this right here. I've been by here I don't know how many times. I turn around. The detail is just instantly obvious. And I'm not saying that it's really any sharper or anything like that. I think it's just the way that the colors come out. It's like the colors just have a higher contrast range than before. And it makes things easier to see and notice that I've never noticed before. It's... you know, this is where you can look at specs and numbers on a paper all day long. But when you actually look at it in person... you just see something totally different. Alright, well, I'm going to enjoy some more content and try to see where this TV falters, if it does. I'm sure there's going to be some flaws here or there, but so far I am way more impressed than I expected to be. It's not out of excitement or anything else. Again, I'm trying to be as just completely open and honest about this as I can be. I have the settings pretty much just at, like, here, let me go through them again. You know, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing dynamic, really. You know, everything's off. The brightness is just how it was, contrast, everything how it was. The gamma, I think, was on 1, or no, sorry, it is 0. If I turn it down to -1, you know, I kind of go back and forth. I think -1 looks a little better, but you definitely get that little bit punchier brightness at 0, so just leave it at 0 for right now. Again, I turned this off, did the HDR calibration, then turned it on. So that's what Vincent Teos had to do when doing the A90J. Assumed it would be the same for this. Peak luminance is at high. Color, you are on Expert 1, which is as close to D65 as you can out of the box. This is default reality creation. I don't know, like, maybe if I get up to the screen I might see something, but I have to struggle to see any detailed difference with this. Maybe the little itty bitty tiny little specks down there might be changing just a tiny bit with it on, but anyway, that's not what I'm seeing overall. This is all off, motion all off. This is all auto. So again, nothing special being done, not calibrated, literally just not even an hour on this TV yet, so it's not broken in. So if there is any more improvement in the brightness after break-in, yeah. So I don't know what else to say about it right now. Let me keep diving deeper. But I just gotta say that I'm really surprised. You know, people were saying about the, you know, increased brightness of the colors making big difference and all this stuff, and again, I was skeptical. I didn't say they were wrong. I was just skeptical. And now I'm not. So, thanks for watching. Have a good one.